All right, man, it's been kind of a crazy week here. I'm gonna share my screen with you
Okay.
and pull up the presentation that I have. You seeing it?
Yeah. Weekly Energy Roundup Podcast 3. I thought we were up to 4 already.
All right, you may have the count better than I do, to be honest. We'll see how that goes. Oh, well, like as I was starting to say, we had kind of a crazy week. I'm gonna advance the slide here.
Okay.
And the thing that really got to me was what occurred on Thursday. You know, I kind of fished around for some explanation of this. You know, the slide down was pretty well understood, but what led to the rally, I never really got my arms around. Did you pick up anything?
Well, just the fact that oil prices moved back up. So apparently that big drop right there was just somebody had to bail out of some fund, maybe blew up and had to sell a whole bunch of stuff or whatever. I remember, I think on that date, I bought Paramount real cheap and it closed $1.53 higher by the end of the day. So my 100 shares really made a big difference. Usually it doesn't happen that much of a, gap, where you pick it up right pretty close to the bottom and then it comes back up and closes pretty close to where it started the day.
Well, now that's an interesting point. You might, that's not something that I had considered. I was looking at more macro reasons, why we had such a rally after that dramatic sell-off in a single day. And you might be onto something there. That hadn't occurred to me. Somebody liquidated a big position. A lot of barrels were available, more than the market could absorb. Price went down, and then somebody said, "Hey, but the physical market's still pretty tight. We better, start buying."
Yeah, usually that happens around that time of the morning, or for me, it's the morning, since I'm 3 hours behind New York time. But
right,
usually the margin desk, they have to clear somebody out, and then they sell at whatever price, and then they when they run out of stuff for sale, then the market recovers again.
Yeah.
People, if they're happen to be at the right place at the right time, can pick up some good bargains. But yeah, it seemed like everything dropped. All stocks were down like 10% that day, and then they only closed down like 2%. So
right.
from being
No,
down,
if you were in the market with cash, you were definitely gonna pick up some deals. I know I put some bids on a couple. I think I tried to get more Devon, but it didn't get down to where I wanted to buy it. And I think I looked at more costs, and kind of the same story. Didn't get to where I wanted it.
yeah, well, we could still see lower prices, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that we get a nice bounce so that I can sell some stuff that I bought to lower my cost basis and sell some of the higher price stuff that's maybe $1 or $2 higher from here, and and then lighten up a little bit, and be able to reload.
Right.
But who knows? You never know what's going to happen. Some people say we may go down to $80 on WTI, maybe not tomorrow or next week, or maybe if we have a deep recession. But who knows? We only got 3.5 months before the midterms, and I don't think now they're even saying they're not even sure if the Feds are going to raise interest rates another 75 basis points.
I hadn't heard that. What's the rationale behind that?
Well, if they raise another 75 basis points, then well, we are in a recession theoretically, not
Yeah.
confirmed yet, but we are. And so if we have even the stock market drop down some more, which a lot of people are, looking to have the S&P drop down to at least 3,000. Some were looking for 2,500, but if we drop to at least 3,000, then you're going to start seeing people buying around that level
Right.
on the S&P. But no, the theory is that they don't want to lose the elections already even more than they're losing already by having being in
Wait a minute. The Fed's supposed to be independent here. They're not.
Yeah, right. That's what they say. The feds don't even know what the heck they're doing because they're kind of late to the party. They're
Well, I heard that.
reacting instead of being ahead of the curve. So
Right.
yeah, so the idea is to raise another 75 basis points next month, or
Well, I
next
think the
month.
Fed meeting's coming up the end of July.
Okay, yeah. So at the end of July,
Yeah.
increase 75 basis points, and then when it looks really crappy in October, usually when we have these October surprises, and something really weird goes bad, then they'll lower interest rates, and then they'll put the punch bowl back, and then the stock market will have a party, and the stocks will go back up again, hopefully to try to help out on the midterms elections, I guess. That's the
Maybe that's one theory. Several outfits, Goldman and Amrita Sen, have reiterated their, $130 to $180 price quotes for Brent for the end of the year. So,
Oh, by the end of the year. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds about right. A lot of things can depend on how the war goes on over there in Ukraine. I guess now the latest I heard was that the Russians are really offering them another way to settle and to sign the peace agreement, but they don't want to take up the requirements that the Russians are putting out.
I
So
got you.
they want to keep going with this war the war looks like going to be going on for a little while longer. But
Man, as an American taxpayer, I love the Ukrainians, but it's getting expensive.
well, yeah, not only that, a lot of people are getting tired of the story already. I don't know if they're even following them. I don't have TV, so I don't even follow
Yeah.
fake news. So
I don't follow it the way I did, in my heart, I bleed for them. I can't imagine the horror being inflicted on them. But, it sounds crass to say it. It's not happening here,
right. No, but the horror, the biggest horror is what being inflicted on the Europeans and the dumb Germans. They're fixing to blow up their economies with this whole thing of losing the Russian natural gas and Russian oil, and so they don't even have enough natural gas to last them for the winter. So they're
Yeah.
out there all trying to find
Yeah.
firewood for buying wood stoves and all that kind of stuff. And
Well, that'll clean up the environment.
yeah, right. And well, now they're even firing up coal power
Yeah.
plants and all that. So,
Yeah.
but
And it's amazing that nobody ever gets fired over this stuff.
well, yeah, because it's all bureaucrats, right? It's
Right.
not even elected. These are all people there in Brussels.
All these people are making all these decisions, and they've obviously screwed up. I made the point in an article a couple of weeks ago that this Green New Deal is starting to look kind of putrid, because when a push comes to shove, people will burn anything to get electricity.
Yeah, they're just not ready for prime time yet. I mean, this whole thing is going to take decades, not a few years to.
But everybody keeps their job, Al, you know.
Yeah, right. Well,
I mean,
the politicians might get bounced out. All these Green Party
yeah,
politicians in Germany, if these guys don't get out, they're going to be in a depression, not a recession. They're going to be losing a lot of work, a lot of jobs. People that industries that use a lot of natural gas for creating things, making
okay.
things. So
Well, crazy run for crude. I think you pretty well answered that. I'm glad you brought that up because that really hadn't occurred to me. I'm not that much of a trader, but I can sure see how somebody had a bunch of oil they had to take delivery on, couldn't do it. All of a sudden, it's on the market.
well, that could be, or stocks that they had to sell also if it was some fund that blew up.
Well, now the decline in the stocks was led by the drop in crude.
Right.
I mean, I remember I get up in the middle of the night. I don't know about you, but I don't
I
get
see
one
you
night's
get up
sleep.
pretty early.
I do. I get up way early, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, typically.
Right.
So I'm looking at the pre-market and things were good that day. And you can kind of see, in the early hours, we were above 100, and then all of a sudden it just broke south. So, somebody woke up, oh my God, the sky is falling. We must run to see the king, type of deal. And it just dropped like a stone on the. Here, I should have my cursor over here.
Yeah, the
That's what I'm
14th of
talking
July.
about. But
14th of July, right.
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we hit a kind of a bottom here, and hopefully things will start going back up again and retest, see if we can break through. And if it doesn't break through,
All right.
we'll go back down again.
Okay, I'm gonna move the slide here. Dumbest thing that Joe Biden did this week, huh? I mean, if you go back a couple of weeks when he was over at that meeting, the French president Macron said, "Don't waste your time. They don't have it."
Right,
So
right.
he goes over there. He's being lambasted for that fist bump, which what are you gonna do? I mean, you got to do something, right?
Right.
Elbow, fist, handshake, whatever. But it's not a good look because of all the rhetoric that he put out. Oh, this guy's a pariah, and we're gonna yada yada yada. Then you go over and fist bump him.
Yeah, I missed all that. No, so maybe this week now the markets will say that nothing got accomplished, nothing got done, and they're going to say they're not going to be able to do anything till 2025, I think, right? So
yeah, they are increasing their capex, but Saudi did like every other oil operator in 2020. They laid down their rigs and didn't spend any money. So now, as they have to restart, it takes time, and you just can't flip a switch like everybody thinks. So
no, but what the Saudis are doing that's really smart of them is that they are buying Russian oil real cheap, at $30 discount to Brent. And because they use that, they have to use oil for their power. They don't use natural gas for power.
I've read something about that. You're
so
right.
They burn oil. So they buy the Russian oil and so that they can export their own oil. Otherwise, they can't export as much oil because they need some of that oil that they
right
for their own internal consumption. So now they're substituting that for Russian oil at a discount, which is a great idea. I mean, it makes all kinds of sense to me.
It makes all kinds of sense. I had read something about that. Everybody knew about China and India buying the Russian crude,
now buying stuff.
but Saudi, they're playing it pretty smart. You have to hand them, if the world is a game of chess, they're advancing their pawns toward the other guy's side, our side, pretty rapidly.
Well, they know how to look after their own interest. That's basically what it boils down.
Well, yeah, good way of putting it.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
not
something
doing
we
all
could take a lesson on.
green stuff and everything.
Yeah.
To kill
Yeah, well, that to me topped everything, you know, that old Joe did during the week. He did himself absolutely no favors. He gave the opposition just a whole list of talking points to use against him in the upcoming election. So the one who ends up being a pariah is going to be Joe.
Yeah, he needs to increase the oil production here in this country, and he's doing everything the opposite of doing that.
Did you see that letter that the West Texas producers pinned to him? It was like, Mr.
Yeah,
President,
I read about it.
yeah, come on out. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, you know, just doing stuff like up in Alaska, you know, shutting down production up in Alaska, which is so dumb because they need to get enough oil going through that pipeline in order to keep that pipeline going alive. Otherwise, you know, they have to shut it completely down if it drops below a certain
Well,
level.
I had read that and I don't remember what the figure was, but like if it falls under like 200,000 barrels.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, yeah, all right. 'Cause I read something about that.
Yeah. So you know, it just this dumb.
All right, let's if you don't have anything else on old Joe, we'll move on to the next. Did you have a chance to look through my Shell article?
No, not yet. So I'm not gonna. I should have say.
Well, you know,
I knew this.
you know
meeting
how
was
I
coming
feel
up.
about the Euro majors. I haven't
Yeah.
really been covering them much the last couple of years since early 2020, I guess. I maybe one or two articles a year. And I had last done Shell about last December. There's an article I gave them a hard time in an article called something to do with wind farms that they were generating. And then this time around, I looked into their hydrogen. They want to be a really big hydrogen player. So I did this article took several days to write because there was a lot of research and links that I had to dig up about the problems with hydrogen, but they bought into it in a big way. They're throwing wads of cash down that rabbit hole, tens of billions of dollars before it's all over, that may not see a return for a decade, if ever. There's no working analogs. One of the things that I learned when I was researching that article, they have this wind farm that's going to supply electricity to run an electrolyzer to split water molecules, hopefully salt water. But so then that frees up hydrogen. They can then go get nitrogen and other things, but it's all predicated on getting that free electricity from the wind farm. Well, that hasn't been working out so well so far over there in the North Sea. But but then when you get into the financials and the cash flow, Shell is trading at less than 3 times cash flow. That's nuts. I looked at Exxon, I looked at Chevron, I looked at Total. Exxon's up around 9 times cash flow. Chevron's 5.6 times cash flow. Total is like 7 times cash flow, and then Shell is trading at $47,000 per flowing barrel. Chevron and Exxon are up around $100 per flowing. I mean, you just go on and on and on. Shell is buying back $8.5 billion worth of stock. They've cut down $15 billion in debt over the past year and a half. I mean, their balance sheet looks terrific. So, as you know, I guess you would say I'm I'm biased against them because of the money they're wasting on the CSG stuff. But when you look at the totality of the picture, it's a compelling, it's a strong buy, you know? Now, go.
How does BP compare there on those?
You know, I haven't gone back to BP. I did them a couple of months ago, and you know, BP, there's a distinction. Shell is not going crazy into wind farms. BP is going crazy into these offshore wind farms that I think is just going to be a big boondoggle and a big waste of money that may even sink the company when the chips come down.
Right.
Shell is taking a more measured approach. You know, they're big into the biofuels. They're working on this hydrogen thing, but to me, it's just a more measured approach, and they have a robust slate of oil and gas projects coming. I go into a fair amount of detail on what they have coming down the pike in the Gulf of Mexico, Brazil, and a couple other places. So I don't see their production dropping the way I think BP's is going to as we exit this decade. But all of that said, I didn't really make a case for Shell as a buy and hold. Shell is so underpriced right now that when sentiment changes, I think it's going to revert back to the at least to the 60s. And if you just gave them, so that's with a cash flow multiple of 2.9, I think it worked out to, which is ridiculous. If you just gave them the cash flow multiple that say Total has, 5.6, that gets you up to the analyst upper range of $88 a share. So that's a pretty compelling buy case. To me, I may even, you know, hold my nose and buy some in the coming week if we see any additional softness, or even right here. If you believe that the structural bull case for oil has not been changed, Shell is a buy.
Right. Wow, I have here one of my tags here from a couple years ago, back in August of 2020, RDSB, when it was regular Royal Dutch Shell, it was 55.46 back then.
Right. No, I mean, if you've been in Shell for the last decade, you've been hosed.
Right. Well, just collecting the dividends. But no, the only thing that I think that kind of differentiates Shell from the others and maybe gives them a leg up on things and maybe looking better for the future for them is that they're really heavy into LNG and natural gas.
Absolutely, great point. And I do make that point in the article. This is the thing that separates Shell from BP is the LNG.
Right.
Okay.
And even Exxon, because Exxon is out there trying to sell their XTO. They sold it up in Canada. They probably like to sell the XTO here in the US if they can find a sucker to buy it. So at probably 1/3 of what Exxon paid for it.
Well, you say that. I think they've made the decision to hang on to XTO because XTO was very gassy. And gas is pretty cool these days.
Right. Well, that's the reason they bought it, I think. But why is this Exxon CEO now coming out and say, "Oh, EVs is the future. We're going to have EVs by 2025." Blah blah blah. What's he doing? Trying to cut his own throat?
Yeah.
Why is he pushing for CNG for cars, for example, here in the U.S.? I don't see.
I saw that comment. I didn't click on any links. Because I was too busy doing other stuff, but I saw that comment. I don't know, sometimes these guys talk out of both sides of their mouth and they may lose track of what they're actually trying
Well,
to say.
the CEO probably says that. I think he said that on CNBC. Just to
I think you're right. I saw the link, but
kiss
I
the
didn't
butt or
listen
whatever,
to it or
trying to sound
follow up.
PC or whatever. But they ought to be pushing a lot more CNG for cars, and but not here in this country. As a matter of fact, even other countries that used to have a lot of CNG 20 years ago, they're not even pushing it anymore. So
Yeah.
oh, I guess it didn't work out or whatever. But I mean, you would think it'd be a lot cheaper than buying gasoline, running on
No, that's
CNG.
right. Well, you got, with anything that you have to compress, you've got to put the energy into it. So I think on a unit for unit basis, there's no way CNG would be cost competitive with gasoline.
Well, but it's got to be a lot cheaper than LNG, which is.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
They try to go with
LNG
for trucks.
LNG is super cool, right? You got it.
They tried like 10 years ago. There's one outfit built a whole bunch of gas stations or the truck stops type deals to sell this LNG, and some of them never even opened up. What's it called? They're out of California, but anyhow.
You know what? I think I know the company that you're talking about, but I can't think of it either. It's like Truck Stops of America or
no, that's where they put some of the pumps at. No, it's Clear something, True Clear or Clear.
I know the one. Okay, you're right.
Clear
Clean Energy or something.
Clean Energy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so they were really heavy on that, and their stock just went like $2 or whatever, but they were never able to get that LNG off the ground, but they're really pushing CNG for regional work because that CNG, you fill it up at your base station there where you're at, your yard, and then you go out and make your deliveries during the day, and you come back to the same place. You run maybe 200 miles within the city or less, or 300 miles at the most, and you come back to your same location and refill again with CNG. And theoretically, they're trying to do that, and especially in California, but in a lot of places, try to run CNG instead of running on diesel.
I thought they made it pretty compelling. I wrote an article on them 4 or 5 years ago, but it never went anywhere, and I lost interest.
Yeah, no,
I think they're
growing again because, especially in California, they're all, they almost have no competition over there.
Right, exactly.
Since they're pushing.
Let's look at another company real quick before they cut us off. So Tamarack Valley, man, that was an impressive
that was company, a nice article. That was a nice article on Valley. The stock is really cheap on the $3. They're going to increase their dividends. They got it. They're out there in the Clearwater. They got a great future. Just people are going to have to buy the darn thing and sit on it for a year or two. And even if oil is at $80, they're still going to be, they're still way too cheap.
That one was one that I think I put a pretty strong buy on Tamarack. I may actually take a position myself in that one.
Tamarack and Surge Energy, they're pretty much the same, as far as peers, to compare with, size wise and growth wise, and they're both paying dividends now. So they're
just real quick, another one that looks pretty good is Obsidian. I'm working up Obsidian right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good name. The CEO is from the U.S., although the guy's a fund manager, but at least it's a U.S. Fund manager, and it's got a NYSE American.
Right.
Like a NASDAQ type listing. It's not an NYSE.
Right, exactly. I made that.
So there's NYSE.
Al, it's really kind of a shooter's market right now. Everything is off 40 or 50%. And unless you think oil is going back to $50 a barrel, which I haven't heard anybody say that. There's folks talking about 80. And it really, to me, I think the threshold is about 70. If oil cracks 70 to the downside, you're going to see some rearranging
Yeah,
But
everybody.
all these companies, they've stress tested their portfolio, you know, well below $70 a barrel. So they're going to keep right on churning up
Yeah.
to about that point.
One thing about Obsidian is they're gonna be unhedged now too, so, and they're almost, they got not too much debt. They're actually putting a lot of money into CapEx, which
They've doubled it. So that's going to be, that's going to make 2023 look pretty good.
Yeah, no,
I think I'll be putting a strong buy on that. What does old Eric Nuttall think of Obsidian?
he doesn't like it. He doesn't buy it, but that's because of the legacy hang up with Penn West. Obsidian used to be Penn West.
Right.
Penn West used to be a huge outfit. They just grew way past their bridges, and they had to downsize from like 200,000 barrels a day production to 20,000.
Yeah, that's a pretty good downsize.
Yeah, right. So that they had the management got too relaxed, and they're just too much bureaucracy. They grew too big, too much bureaucracy, and then they finally had to fire some people there and find some.
There's a lot of gems out there. It makes you wish you had more money because I just think this market is getting ready to double or triple.
Well,
Depending
not
on what
only
world
that,
event.
there's a lot of wells that weren't, they've been shut off or whatever because at $40 WTI they couldn't.
Well, that's
make it
right.
work. But at $100 WTI, they're making all kinds of money.
Making all kinds
there's
of
a
money.
lot of wells now that they're coming back on production, and with a higher oil over $100 or whatever, they're making all kinds of cash.
Exactly. All right, moving along. What just the usual stuff here. I think the DPR is going to be released tomorrow, and of course the WPSR will come out midweek.
Okay.
We haven't had any luck the last, I want to say it's been 3 weeks since we had a drop, and it's
right. Well,
it's
this
been
SPR
interesting.
release, this SPR release is probably a big headwind. 1 million barrels.
Yeah, I could be. But it's been interesting to see
they're
the oil
exporting
price.
all that to Europe or China.
Well, that's right.
So much for lowering our gasoline prices here.
The stuff they do blatantly, you would think they'd at least try and cover it up, but
But they don't know what they're doing. They don't care.
that's certainly clear.
Put out a press release and they think that fixes the problem.
So what do you think the Fed's going to do when they meet? Do you think they're going to raise or pause?
Well, I think they're probably going to raise 75 basis points, and
I think so too.
And then
earlier in the week, I heard somebody talking about a full 100 basis points. I think it's when the CPI, the PPI number was released. It was like 11%, which is going to trickle down to the CPI. But
that's what they did in Canada. Bank of Canada increased 100 basis points the last week. So maybe they'll.
Yeah, I think they'll hold the course. I can't fine tune enough to know if it'll be 75 or 100, but I think they're going to go for a raise. And honestly, I don't think the market will care.
What happened?
I'm not looking for a big reaction out of the oil market from did you get cut off?
No, you froze up for a minute. Your
okay.
Connection is unstable. Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. Anyway, I'm not looking for a big reaction out of it.
All right.
Could be wrong. That's just my gut. And then OPEC, they're you have all that stuff going on in Libya, force majeure in Libya. It's just not going to be as easy to ramp up production if the Chinese ever unlock their people to where they start buying oil again. That's going to be a big driver.
Right. Yeah, and also much. Well, the China's trying to get their economy going. They're, out there giving out a lot of free money, the low interest rate loans and all that again to try to get.
Right, big stimulus out of China, you bet.
Uh,
Anything coming up this week I've missed?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Hopefully, things will look up a little bit.
It'd be nice. I'd like to have a good week. It's been a while since we had a string of really good days. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I think, hopefully we run out of sellers. That's basically what it boils down to. If we have less sellers than buyers, we're in be good shape. So we just need some bottom feeders here to
There you go.
try to buy some shares.
All right, Al, it's been good, man. I've enjoyed it.
All right, well, great. So we'll do this in a couple of weeks again.
Do this in a couple of weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Talk to you later.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a nice weekend.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye now.